Okay folks, I'm not quite done, but I'm getting really close. Still got to put bolts back in for this cross member where I unbolted it. And let me see. I've got one more bolt to put in here. And I just forgot it. You can see I drilled my holes for my air lines to run through just like they were on the other. And you can see the inside of that one. And let me see. Shocks are mounted, and of course they mount on the inside here. And my stoppers, I did not get my pieces cut out to put in here, and the reason is I didn't get close enough to my welder to weld them in. So I'll move the truck and then I'll go ahead and do that. As you can see, this clears fine on the airbag, and you can see these holes and where this is welded at on the end of the frame. I don't know who done this or why, but you see how far up it is on this end. The frame's even, but that's not. So I don't have room to get my airbag bolted on yet. And it's right in the way of hitting, so I've got to do a little cutting off of that first. Okay folks, I wanted to show you another thing. One reason I like using a torch a lot over the plasma cutter, especially something like this, is, you know, we had a really heavy weld down through here. And you know, I'm trying to take part of it away, and I don't want to cut into the frame. And with a torch, you know, if you heat your outside piece up, and after you've practiced a while with one, used one for years like I have, it's not a problem to cut an outer piece and leave the inner piece, you know, in good shape. And I'm going to try to knock this off and show you. Now, I've cut the weld, and as you can see, you know, we didn't cut at all into the frame. And the reason being is, you know, you're heating the outer piece, and the inner frame is not hot enough to burn through. And I've tried a little bit with the plasma cutter of seeing if I can cut partial depth without cutting all the way through, and I've had no luck with it so far. Now, I hadn't done it on anything where it really mattered, but just checking stuff out, trying to do it. So I'll probably never get away from my torch, not for good for sure, but you know, stuff like this is perfect. And what I'll do is come in and just grind the rest of that weld off, and you know, didn't hurt the frame any at all, so it'll be perfect. And we're going to go ahead and get that done, and then try to get this airbag bolted on. So show you more. Okay folks, got everything done on the airbags, everything's mounted. I wanted to show you a couple things. If you notice that this cross member has got a tunnel in it for the drive shaft. You know, originally this would have been the closest drive shaft to the rear end, but now this one is. As you can see, there's no tunnel in it. Not sure whether I'm going to have to put one in it or not. I'll know that when I, you know, get the drive shafts in and I let the air completely out of the bags. I've actually got it blocked now with 4-inch blocks because I don't want it sitting down on the bags. There's a piece of rubber that went on each one of these that is actually rotted off, so I'm going to have to come up with something to put on them. It goes down a little farther than what it should. But what I'm getting at is this thing has already got 3 drive shafts, and this one's pretty long. The other 2 were somewhere around 33 inches apiece. You know, I got to add 35.5, and you can see the front one and the center one, and it's a little longer than 33. The front one's 33, it's the shortest one, and then our longest one in the back here. So what we're going to do, we've got a drive shaft, and the one we got is, it's a little older model, but it don't matter. The joint size is exactly the same. So I'm actually going to add another drive shaft instead of making one of these long, because the 33 is the shortest I've got. If I add 35.5 to it, to me, you know, it's going to be a little longer than I want. I'd rather have an extra drive shaft and extra carrier bearing and joint. So my plans are, I'm going to leave the 33 where it's at, unbolt it here, move the whole drive shaft setup back, and then put one in between. And the one that will go in between will be 35.5 from center to center, which is the same thing we stretch the frame. And if you do that from the center of where the joint goes, and which would be about on this flat, to the center of the other end, then it'll come out exactly right, and you know you hadn't changed anything. But I may have to add another. I will have to add another bracket in for the drive shaft back here, maybe on that cross member, and possibly on it, and which would be no problem. I mean, there's 2 bolt holes in it, you can see, and actually this one's actually curved out too, and we may even use this bracket. It'll bolt directly back on there, and it should take us about where we need it. And then and you can see these are slotted, they're adjustable, so you know you can play with that a little bit. And then we will we'll just add a 36 or 35.5-inch drive shaft, and we'll measure where that'll come to and where I'm going to have to put the other carrier bearing at. And this is not quite center close to it, but I mean you can see 35.5 where it's at. So actually I'll be able to, I can, you know, use a bracket like this, make one or whatever, but have it facing this way to bolt it to, or, you know, we could weld it into the cross member if we needed to, you know, a plate coming down to hold the other one. You know, that's not a problem. So, you know, it looks like it's going to actually work out pretty good. And I'll pick up a new joint for this. And, you know, these others we don't have to take anything apart except just to take the 4 bolts off for the straps. And we should work out just fine, and that way we don't have to take this slip joint apart. These newer ones, you know, the old ones, when we used to tow them, when you pull the drive shaft, you could just slide this apart. These newer ones aren't made to take apart, and actually some of them, if you bust that apart, they actually recommend you buy a complete drive shaft to replace it, and which is kind of crazy. And you know, these are strapped on like the old CV joints used to be, and you know, you got to break them to get them off. And so when we tow anything we pull like this, we pull the drive shaft, we just have to wrap some tape around the joint so the caps don't come off, and then, you know, bungee cord the shaft up so it don't come down. You know, it used to be we could slide it out and throw it in the back of the truck or throw it on the back of the wrecker or whatever, but things have changed. So we don't want to disturb that joint whatsoever with that boot. So we will actually just unbolt, you know, the carrier bearing, or center support bearing, some people call it. But unbolt it there, move the drive shaft back where we need it, and then add our 35.5 in, and we'll be done with it. Okay folks, I've got this thing moved over close to the welder, and I went ahead and took that piece of channel off, bumper of some kind. This is what they had the tail lights mounted on, and they've got it fully welded on both sides, on this side and on that side. So I'm going to cut it out, because what I want to do, I'm probably going to use this same plate and swing it around, but what I want to do is when I extend this out 4 inches, I actually use this plate to lay on the inside of it and weld it in. And we'll just well, I think it's 4, somewhere 4 to 6 inches. I want to go exact what the other one is, because I don't want to go too long, because when the bed tilts, I don't want to take any chances on anything hitting or anything. But I'm going to go measure the other one more time. I've probably already measured it 20 times, but you know, something you want to be right on. You can see where they cut against this hole, and that one's just a little bit longer, probably an 1/8 inch. But I'll grind them good and straight, and then I'll grind a V in them, or you know, a bevel on them. And like I said, our first hole goes somewhere up here, and then our second one will be back in our new plate. And I've got a frame I'm going to use. It's a lot taller than this, so I'm going to actually slice it long ways and close it back up, and then I'll weld it. But when I'm done, it'll be good and strong, plenty strong enough for what we're doing with it. And you can see I cut this side off, but it was hard to get in there, so I went ahead and just broke this off, and just by swinging the bumper around. So I'm going to get all that ground, get all them welds off there, and hopefully if it goes well, and get the frame rails on here, drill the holes, then I'm going to go set it on. And one of the reasons I want to go ahead and get it on before I do this drive shaft, if I move this drive shaft back to the, you know, all the way back to the rear where it needs to be, because that's the slip joint, it's going to put my it's going to actually put my center support bearing, or my carrier bearing, about in here, which is a ways in front of the cross member. But what I found out when I did a little measuring is that's about where my cylinder mounts are going to be. So I don't want to drill and put a cross member in and then have bolts in the way. So what I'll do is I'll end up using all 4 of the holes of the mount for my cylinders, and I'll also use the same bolts for the cross member if I can get by with that. So we'll just add another cross member in. It'll be about a foot in front of that one, 14 inches maybe. And the other actual cross member is going to work out fine. I'm not going to have to do anything about it. A little bit of changing, but I mean I don't have to do anything major. So shouldn't be too bad. Just add 1 cross member and everything else is fine. These cross member here's are in the same place they were before. One at the front of the control arm and one at the airbag. So no problem there. And we'll get at it and show you more. Okay folks, I've gotten this pretty much cleaned up and ground. I was going to show you what I was going to do. I'm going to use these pieces, which these are the ones that I just cut out of the inside there. And I think they're 3/8. But I'm going to weld this on just like this. We'll take advantage of that hole, the big hole right there, for plug welding. And I'm going to do the same with that hole, but on the, from the inside. So I'm just going to try to take advantage of what I got here. There's actually another bolt hole there I'll plug weld. And that'll help strengthen it up some, but figured we'd just use what we got, and since it's there. But I'll get these welded on, and then we'll get the frame ready and go ahead and extend it out where we need it, and we'll have one more thing knocked out. Show you more. It's probably going to be tomorrow when I do the bed. I'm going to go ahead and get this posted tonight, and you'll definitely get to see the video tomorrow evening of it getting mounted on. Usually the holidays were pretty slow, so, and I work 7 days a week, so not a problem. I appreciate everybody subscribing, commenting, and liking, and all the new subscribers, and we'll be hitting 1,000 here shortly, I hope. And I do appreciate everybody watching, and we'll get this job knocked out. I want to get back on the wrecker. That's priority, but well, this is priority for now anyway, and as soon as I get this done, we'll get back on the wrecker. But I hadn't given up on it, trust me. I just got to fit in some of these little jobs in between, and I really needed to get this rollback done and get a driver in it. I know he's been waiting on it for a long time, and I've been wanting to get it on the road for a long time. So, but we will. I'll show you getting the bed on it tomorrow for sure. Till then, bye. We've got about all this welded. I'm surprised the camera's picking it up as dark as it is. Must be the backlight on the camera, but it's just about welded all in. Alright. That's it for today. Bye.